Hello everyone! As you can probably guess from the title of this video, whatever I've decided it's going to be, it's a bit different from usual, and it's more about sharing some experiences that I have about being estranged from my parents and the kind of experience that then it becomes when one of the estranged parents passes away. And I'm doing this in the hope that sharing my experience can help other adult children of bad people, basically, to deal with the pushback of culture. Our culture has a huge issue that probably we'll go into in this video about the idea that because children owe their life to their parents, then whatever their parents do is acceptable or forgivable. And yeah, we're going to go into the expectations of cultures and why thankfully things are shifting. And I can tell you my experience so that hopefully if you're in a similar position, if you worry about what happens when your estranged mom or dad passes away, I can tell you at the very least the emotional impact that it has had on me, the questions that have come to me, and hopefully you can see that despite the threats of society, there doesn't have to be regret. But before we get started, I've opened a coffee and memberships are open. Now you can support my work directly and you can even get extra goodies in return, because thank you. And for the foreseeable future, part of my profits from tarot readings go directly to support Coaches to Gaza, who support Palestinians refugees in Cairo, and the Good Law Project, who's trying to bring trans rights back to the UK, because trans rights are human rights. So if you decide to support me there, hey, thank you so very much. So the first thing that I think helped me immensely, it was, I'm going to say, a stroke of luck. It's not, probably, but it's a chance. And a year and a half ago, because of a bureaucratic mistake, I got a communication that my mother had passed away when she hadn't. So all those emotions of reaction came to me a year and a half ago. And I remember going through them in these 10 minutes that I see this email and I'm like, and what I was really glad to realize was that at no point the concept of regret, oh, shouldn't I have tried more, should we have talked anyway, that didn't come to me. I had made my position and understanding of the situation very clear to myself and to her. And that's an important thing to highlight, I reckon. People think that there's this trend where now adult children can just go no contact for fun, for the funsies of it. And of course it's not like that at all. Not last because we have a biological imprinting on our parents. We are born believing in our very early life that our caregivers are our entire world. They are our gods. So the idea that a disagreement, a bad argument is what makes us switch like that. No, that's not how it works. I know that that's the take of most parents that are estranged from their kids when they haven't taken the choice of being estranged, but their kids have. And I can tell you from my position, I'm not the only one that says it, like psychologists have tried to explain it. Dr. Anna, I've talked about this for a few videos. I'll link her stuff down in the description below, but that's the main point. Like, believe me, it takes a lifetime of reflection and of endurance to then get to the point where we can take the decision of stepping back and not allowing a parent to continue abuses just because it's a parent. It took me a very, very, very long time. And the stuff that my mother has done to me is not just something that came to her recent. Like, she's done bad stuff for my entire life since I was a child. But when all you know is your family and the people you live with, you think that that's normal. And it takes an even longer time to have and meet new people And then once you meet these new people that you trust and you care for, and they care for you most importantly, and they care for you actually unconditionally, because we are used to be told that the parents love us unconditionally. I think you can observe that it's a lie. Parents love you because you are their inheritance. You are their DNA continuing in time. They put expectations on you, and you are their blood. They love you for the part of you that you carry in you of them. Then ideally, they should love you because you are an entire human being, and they should realize, regardless of how you reflect them, regardless of how much you are a mirror of them, you are your own person, and it's their choice and partially privilege to form a human that will become an adult and then will impact the world. And so their privilege and responsibility for, at the very least, the first 18 years of someone's life, but technically, hopefully, it goes longer, and it's not just seen as a legal responsibility. It's you are forming the mental kindergarten of a little human that will become an adult and will impact the world after you've gone. Like, I personally feel that that's the importance of parenthood. Unfortunately, the most that I have seen is that in different cultures, it varies by all means, but there's always a degree of children are capital, children are possessions, and children are an investment that needs to pay back. And if it doesn't pay back the way that you expect it to, the way that you want it to, the way that it allows you to extend your own life with what they do in the way that they project your part of genetic essence and achievements, then this love is absolutely conditional and can be withdrawn. And I hope that it's not like that commonly. I hope that it's just, a set of people that did not reflect on what parenthood is supposed to be. And then we ended up in these situations. But that is the first point that I find it's really, really important to highlight. That not following the steps that our parents have decided for us, before we even formed a personality to understand what we want, it can be put on us as a fault, as how can you do that to the people that have given you life? And to that I will say something that I said to Imogen when I had this conversation, that is, you don't get rights over someone else's life just because you got knocked up and brought the pregnancy to term. It's just not how it works. It's not something that you own because of that, and therefore you can decide for it until you are legally responsible for them. Responsibility for a human being is not you get to live your life vicariously through them and tell them what to do. And if they don't, you feel like you can withdraw that supposedly unconditional love that parents are to give, and that protection and that care. Like, they buy you food, they give you shelter. As a child, you imprint on them because of it, because these are the big humans that will keep you safe when you're not able to keep yourself safe. So when they don't, and when actually they become, because they are in that position of power, the human that puts you at risk, that takes advantage of you, that is the reason why, despite what culture says, no, there are choices that we ought to make, because if just by virtue of having put us on this world, of having again taken a pregnancy to term, they do not get to do anything to us, and we just take it because they're your parents. Although that's what culture tells us every day, and that's honestly, of these events, that's been the hardest part. That's been the knowledge that whoever I decide to disclose that my mother has died, I have to brace for them saying, I'm so sorry, condolences, oh, at least now she's at peace, and these kind of things. Which I understand completely why culturally they are the first thing that come to mind. Personal experience and maybe advice. If you know someone that is estranged from their parents and their parent dies, I couldn't have been able to tell you what was the best reaction to have until this happened. And then this happened, and I told a few people, and the best answer that I got was, okay, how do you feel? Everybody else was, a variation of I'm sorry, condolences, or like all these things that are for the loss. And the only person that made me realize, oh, this is what's actually making me focus on what I need right now, was the question of asking me how I felt. Because again, culture has centered the power position of parents over children, regardless of what they do, forever. It's an entitlement that apparently it doesn't matter what parents do. Culture doesn't think that you should ever be able to take it away from them, which is mind-boggling to me. Like, never, ever, ever forget that statistically, the abuse that a child gets always comes from a close relative or someone in the home. So culturally, we are reinforcing the idea that if abuse comes from the family, you just have to take it. And in the end, they are your parents, and you're not entitled to defend yourself, to stand for yourself, to talk even about it. Like, there's a lot about you don't wash your dirty laundry in public, which is what abusers use, of course, to protect themselves. But when you are told that by a parent as a child, you unwittingly become an accomplice in your own abuse, because you're like, well, if I say something, what kind of person am I that I speak ill of my parents? And when you are dependent on them, it makes complete sense that your worry is, well, this is going to reflect on me, because they make you believe that this is going to reflect on you. Which I think is why it takes a very long time and prolonged abuse and harassment before getting to your adult life, you can even consider the possibility of distancing yourself. Back to the original point that I started, I personally got the luck of having a do-over because I got this wrong communication a year and a half ago. So I had those moments of, oh, okay, what are my emotions? Where are they coming from? What am I sorry for? And the main thing that I was sorry for was that I did not have enough information about my ancestor. And my mother was the last person alive that could have told me those things. So my first thought was like, I don't know my ancestral line well enough, and that bugs me. I wish I'd known. I wish I'd known how many siblings my grandfather and my grandmother had. Maybe I don't know all of them. That bugged me. So when something like that happened, it allowed me to understand if I had regrets, what regrets they were. And I was really glad at the time to realize I genuinely do not have the regret that we haven't spoken. At the time, it was almost a year. Because again, it's not something that you do lightheartedly at all. I don't think that a child can do that lightheartedly at all. It's incredible the level of dependence, emotional dependence, and culturally, the kind of pressure that we have to accept our parents, whatever they do, whilst that is not something that culturally we are used to at all. Like, again, we are very used to degenerate children that turn against their parents, but we never describe even abusive behavior as such. And personally, I've always heard the justification of, but they're your parents, surely they didn't mean it that way, surely they come from another time, and all that kind of stuff. And personally, slight quick deter, I think that that's a consequence of capitalism. I think that the nuclear family being a small version of what the bourgeoisie and the working class do, with someone in charge and the others in the family being dependent / objects / capital of possession of someone, you don't expect capital to raise their head and tell you no. So when that happens, the offense is such because I made you and I can as easily break you. How am I the only one who was constantly told that by their mother in their young life. Like that is if I have to think about one sentence connected to my mother, is I made you and I can as easily break you. So it is very, very widely accepted and acknowledged that that's the power that parents have over children, and children cannot stand up against their parents in any way, because they were given the ultimate gift of life. So you cannot do anything to ever pay that debt back in full. So the least that you can do is to obey your parents in everything they tell you. And believe me, that kind of mindset is not something that I think it's a common understanding how to get out of. And I don't think it will become, like, thankfully, therapy and general social understanding has slightly changed in the last 10 years. Like, when I went no contact with my mother, I did not know that no contact was a thing. It was just a choice that I had to come by, because no matter my effort, the abuse would not stop. Things would be made worse and worse and worse, and the only thing that I could do to make them stop was to not give my mother access to me and my life. And believe me, that is not, absolutely not, an easy choice to make. And personally, what helped me do that, even understand that, was having other people around me that loved me because they just loved me. They knew me and therefore they loved me. But it wasn't an automatic thing. It wasn't expected to be like, parents and children. Because I think that expectation that we put on, parents love you unconditionally, you keep hearing it. Then you verify the events and you're like, I don't think that this is unconditional at all. It's conditional to how well I represent you, how well I am your business card in the world, how well I am a mini you. And meeting Raven and then having other friends that just got to know me and liked me for the person that I was, and therefore cared for me actually unconditionally. Like, whether, depending on who I was or not, it was nothing that was given to them. I was not a value given, I was not capital given to them, like a child is for a parent. And so it was something that took a long time for me to just shift my understanding of, my mother is like that. She jokes like that. She says things like that. I try to make her reason, but then if we get to a point where she just doesn't want to reason, then, I have to take the consequences. I have to start apologize for her to all the people that she's doing bad things to all the rules and the laws that she's breaking. And I have to take the responsibility, despite the fact that I would never do those things myself, because I know that they are wrong. But I'm her daughter, and if reasoning with her doesn't work, and she still does bad things, the only thing that is left for me to do is take responsibility for her and be the one that people go to demanding compensation and demanding apologies, which is a horrible thing, because I have formed a very clear idea of right and wrong. I think because of this, because I had to observe how painful it was to see someone not only you love and you're supposed to love, but that they are supposed to love you. And to go with all the ability you have, even for a child, to beg them not to do more harm, and them just shrugging at you and like, I'll do what I want, and you will just sit there, watch and take it, and you will have to be in my corner when it backfires because I made you. So believe me, even that is not something that is enough on its own to make an adult child go, well, I've taken enough, I've had to apologize and pay consequences enough on your behalf for things I wouldn't have done, I'm out. No, even that wasn't enough. Until I had the vocabulary to even explain to the people around me the things that my mother was still doing and had done to me before, it wasn't something obvious to me. And it still took me time to tell it to people that I valued the understanding of the world and the opinion of, and then telling me, that's the thing, they didn't even tell me, and it was wrong per se, but I had never seen these people who care for me go that white in the face and sincerely worried. I remember speaking to Raven the first time about not stuff that I had forgotten by any chance, but stuff that for the first time I think I had the vague understanding, I don't think this is right. If my mother making jokes and my mother doing these things, I'm told this is not right, then maybe I should talk about other experiences that I had as a child, because maybe they are not right either. And I remember doing that and starting to say to Raven and then to the people around me, and everybody going shocked and asking me, are you okay? Do you need to talk to someone? And that made me realize my normality was not normal at all. But as children, it's all we know. And it takes a very long time to get a different weight from the rest of the world. You'd think that with media and with everything, we should get an idea, but I think that what happens in a household, in a family, it's something, again, you imprint on, and it's very hard to ever think that it's anything but normal. And that alone takes a long time, and it takes the luck to actually then have around people that can be honest with you. Because again, culturally, you do not speak against parents. Culturally, it's a bad thing to do. It doesn't matter what they've done. So, believe me, it's not something that anybody has ever done lightly, to take a step away from their parents and accept that this is enough. I've tried my best. There is no change. I need to protect the rest of my life from your damage. And that's personally my experience. So I think that because of that, not many adult children of abusive parents that have gone no contact will have the regret per se of, oh, I actually wish that I had talked to you again. And I think that the closest thing that got to me this time around, when it was real, like they told me that she passed away, and she has actually passed away, I had a weird emotional reaction in the sense of I had regret/resentment for thinking about the time that we could have had together, and it could have been decent and knowing each other if she had just stopped her absurd behavior, her damaging behavior. And the first thing that came to mind was it worth it? Which I think my psychologist told me that is the second or third stage of grief. I don't quite remember now. But I genuinely had this thing that I think it's not necessarily regret not having talked to her, but I regret that she never cared about being the mother that I hear some people have, and they are decent and they are there and they do make you feel loved. Like I've had my brain trying to go and tell me, haven't you been too fussy? Couldn't you be more understanding? And then, I don't know if thankfully or what, but at the same time, my brain also sent me flashes and memories of all the terrible, humiliating, painful, and measurable, damaging things that she had done, that I had begged her to stop. Like, that's the crazy thing. I never asked her to do something that is not necessarily in her nature. But when she was just doing damage for the sake of doing damage, for the sake of feeling in control, I have begged her time and time again, genuinely, as a daughter to a mother, genuinely begging her to feel the pain that I was going to her with, asking, just stop, just hold still for a second, let me solve the mess that you've made, just hold still, that's all I'm asking, hold still. And she didn't want to do that. And when I asked her, why are you doing this? Why are you burning so many bridges and doing so much damage? And it's stuff that then I'll have to repair, then I'll have to answer for legally. Why? Because then I get it off my chest. And anyway, they will come after you, not after me. Still, in front of situations like that and moments like that, it wasn't easy for me to have the strength to say, this is enough. When I did it the first time, and I told, that's the thing, I didn't disappear, I didn't ghost her. She was in one of these phases, and I had to tell her, if you continue, I cannot stand in your corner anymore. I cannot be beaten black and blue by the consequences of your actions when I've asked you, begged you to just stop. I'll make every effort, I'll sort everything, but you need to stop. And she couldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. And that was the time that I had to tell her, okay, then I can't in good conscience continue like this. I'll sort this, but I will not speak with you again. And that was some 2 years ago. So, yeah, the one sadness, not quite regret, but sadness, because it's not something that I could have changed. I've tried everything, and it wouldn't change. And wouldn't it have been easier for you to chill for a fucking moment and enjoy the last decade of your life, being in touch with me, talking to me, knowing how my life was? Like, things had gone so bad already that my mother doesn't know that I am married. My mother doesn't know that I am married. My mother doesn't know that I am married to a trans woman. My mother doesn't know anything that I do, because the breaking point happened around a decade ago, and having to come to terms with the realization of what my life had been up until that point and the way that I was used and manipulated by her made me realize that at the very least I hadn't stopped talking to her, but I had to realize that not so much for me, but I needed to protect my family from her. And that's where things started. But it wasn't no contact immediately, of course. No contact was just 2 years ago. So still for 7 years in between, even if I couldn't share with her things about my life because I was afraid of the way that she would have decided to affect them, that she would have decided to do stuff about it. That was the way to protect myself, but still not quite enough to then draw a line in the sand and say, okay, I cannot deal with you anymore. So believe me, it's not something that we do lightheartedly at all. But on the bright side, I can tell you, it's also not something that I regret. Now she's passed away. I am sorry that we didn't have a better relationship, that she couldn't be a better mother, that she couldn't understand what a relationship between a parent and a child should be, which is not one of possessions, which is not one of extension or living vicariously through. But I think I'm sorry for me never having had a mother in that sense. So it's not something that I lose because she's passed away now. It's something that I never had, and I have to wonder how my life would have been if I had a parent that had been decent, that had actually cared for me and my development and me becoming my own person, rather than using me as an extension of them. At least my mother always treated me as if I was an extension of her, a development of her that she had never accepted an umbilical cord to be cut from. And when I had to cut it, it wasn't easy, because I didn't know any other kind of life. And even having people around me, again, that loved me and could be honest about seeing and hearing what had happened to me and tell me, this is not right. Just because someone birthed you, they can't do that to you. And that was just something that was not an information that I ever had before. No, your parents have put you into this world, they have every right to take you away from it, and so everything they do is fine, it's legitimate, and culture keeps telling us so. that is, I think, very dangerous. I completely understand why culture needs to reinforce hierarchy in everything, including a family, including the relationship between parents and children. But it is very dangerous because it reinforces the idea that abuse from the family is absolutely fine, and it is a responsibility of the child to deal with it and grow a pair. But it's never admonishing of the parent, because surely they didn't mean it, and if they meant it, you know, they were from another time and stuff like that. So yeah. Another thing that I realize I'm sorry for, but I've partly compensated because I have got information about my ancestors in the last couple of years. It still felt weird to lose the immediate chain link between myself and my grandparents. There is a part of me that is starting to realize, because of Italian culture and because of the times, indeed, surely my grandparents have enabled my mother's behavior, despite the fact that I do see them as very good people. That's reflection that I will need to do. But yeah, there was part of it that was the realization that that link is gone, and so I am one step further away from my grandparents, which is bizarre because they died decades ago, and I have a relationship with them, as you can see. Another step from that on the witchy side was genuinely, from the first night, the fear of if I have a very weird relationship with mortality and anything that comes after. It's not clear to me. I wish it was. I hear other people talking about their ancestors and absolutely clearly having no doubt that there's a life beyond that and there are spirits and all of that. And I love that for them. And probably the main reason why I got into witchcraft is exactly to have that same kind of absolute certainty that they seem to have. And I don't have that yet. And believe me, I want that. But weird things happen, sort of signs and synchronicities. To me, it's not enough. And I wish I had something more. And there's a part of me that went, well, it's 50-50. Either we are warm food in waiting, and so we die and we end, or there is something after. And if there is something after, my main concern was like, how do I protect my house now from my mother, who is a disembodied spirit? Genuinely. So my first thing was to renew all of my protections and make it clear this is not a place for you. Either way, whether there is something or not, I had to, you know, it's good to cover your bases. Another thing, and again, I've talked about it here and there, is that I don't have a good relationship with death and mortality at all. I have what clinically is defined as thanatophobia, which is death anxiety, which, if you ask me, everybody should have, but apparently not, or not to my level. And especially not to the level where it impairs me enjoying my everyday life now. But it is a thing that I deal with, and it comes and goes, the worst part of it. This definitely worsened it because obvious reasons, like I am genetically linked to this person. What does it mean that she died at this age? I don't know what she died of. Probably I will not know. Probably there are a lot of questions that I would have about her health that nobody will ever give me an answer to, and there's nobody that I can ask. So, yeah, all that stuff made me much more aware of my own mortality, which is not something that I'm ever unaware of already. So that doesn't help my mental health in that sense, because it goes to touch to that reminder of mortality that already I have too clear in front of my eyes every day, of myself, of my loved ones. And again, another reason, or the same actual reason why I got into witchcraft was exactly that. If I can find a way to understand in a way that makes sense to me that intelligence, personality, the mind doesn't end with the body, that would lift a huge weight off of my mental health. These unfortunately pushed me down a bit on that, because Of course, when your parents die, it reminds you of your own mortality and how much do I have left then? It's that kind of thing. I think that is covering my experience so far. I have been lucky enough that I could pull forward my therapy session with my psychologist, so I have support. It's weird in cultural and social terms, I will not lie, because again, culture is not ready to hear that if you do bad things, even as a parent, there are consequences, and the consequences might be that your children want nothing to do with you, and therefore your death, and therefore, you know, anything that comes after, any responsibility that comes after. I understand, because it's literally losing a privilege for parents, isn't it? Like you have the privilege of owning this person, you own them, and it's literally a piece of property, it's capital, and they have to do what you say, otherwise you will shun them, and society will agree with you that they are ungrateful. But we never talk about, if children have to be grateful, don't parents owe us respect and care in exchange? And care is not just providing a roof and food for the first 18 years, because otherwise also we wouldn't have laws that make that mandatory, by the way. Like the fact that there had to be laws to make that mandatory says a lot. But culturally, and I kind of understand why, like we've talked about it before, I do not like even the patriarchal thing that we brought into witchcraft about the maiden mother crone, because it reinforces the idea that in patriarchy, the one value that is given to women is motherhood. It's what is given to them to pacify them, to appease. You will have one power, and it will be the power to create the next generation. We don't focus as much on the power of these are your things. And you know, some parents, I hope most parents in fairness, do realize that that's a responsibility, that that's a privilege. You are forming the mind of a person that will affect the world, as I said at the beginning. But I do worry that most parents just take it as, this is a piece of me that I therefore decide what to do with, just like I do with an object. Because when that is the case, nobody pushes back. Capitalism made us think that that's okay to do. There's the idea that if you spend money on them, I let you live under my roof, I pay for your food, you're under my roof, therefore my rules. All these things strip away the autonomy that even children ought to have, because they are their own people. The cord is cut when they are born. And the fact that society and culture reinforces the idea that no, you forever are an extension of your parents, and it doesn't matter what they do, you need to be grateful for the fact that they had you, that they brought you to term, and that they fed you for 18 years. Without ever considering that what is asked of children is to give their entire life back in return. You need to do what your parents want you to do. You need to study what your parents want you to study. You need to take care of them because they've taken care of you. Without ever considering, children never had a choice in this. You didn't ask to be born. But dare I say, for some especially bad people, becoming parents is simply to get higher in the ladder of power and privilege. Because again, a woman becomes more authoritative the moment that she can speak as a mother, because it's the one power the patriarchy gave her. And when having children just becomes something that you do to gain more respect and authority in society, it's not the right reason, but it's unfortunately, I worry, the most common reason. So I hope that sharing my experience has helped or can help anyone that has been or will be in my position. Your parents has done enough that you needed to make the painful choice of distance yourself. And if you worry, the moment that they pass, will I be sorry? Well, I can tell you in my experience, I'm not sorry that she passed. I'm not sorry that I didn't speak to her for the last years of her life, because I know what she would have said. I know how she would have behaved. She has done that all her life, and I gave her every chance for a disproportionate amount of time to change, and she never did. She never changed her vision of me being just an extension of her, and not doing anything and everything that she wanted made me a degenerate daughter. And at that point, believe me, I have tried for a very long time to take that as criticism enough to try and do something, but the reality of things was that until I was just an extension of my mother, like she wanted, like a mini her that could achieve in life the things that she hadn't, I would have never not been a degenerate thing. And at that point, it's important to remember that they had their life, and so we deserve to have our own. And with that, I will end this, and I hope that this was in any way useful for the way that it, I know, goes against the society and culture as a whole. But this is still a real experience, and I know that unfortunately I'm not the only one in this. Society will tell you that you're wrong. From experience, I know that if you are in my position, it wasn't an easy decision, and you have had to take account of all these things. And what I am sorry for is for you, and I hope you're okay. Thank you for sitting with me, and I will see you soon in the next video.